Hey everyone, the Property Manager Mastermind Conference 2022 is going on at the Red Rock Resort in Las Vegas, Nevada. Go to pmmcon.com to learn more and sign up.
Welcome to the Property Management Mastermind Show with your host, Brad Larsen. Brad owns one of the fastest growing property management companies in San Antonio, Texas. This podcast is for property managers by property managers. You'll hear from industry-leading professionals on best practices, new ideas, success stories, and lessons learned. This is your opportunity to learn about the latest industry buzz surrounding property management, as well as tips and strategies to improve your business.
Need a repair at 2 a.m.? Easy does it. Easy Repair coordinates maintenance and nothing else, and takes after-hour maintenance calls for property managers, working with your property management software, so you can see exactly what Easy is doing without leaving your own software. From Las Vegas, Nevada, our full-time maintenance coordinators will dispatch your work orders directly with your vendors. Give us a call at 800-488-6032 or visit our website, easyrepairhotlinellc.com. If you are looking to enhance your tenant's moving experience, cut down on phone calls or emails to you or your staff regarding utilities, then you must connect yourself, your team, and your tenants with Citizen Home Solutions. Citizen Home Solutions takes the hassle of utilities off your hands and your tenants. Best of all, we do it for free. Build us into your tenant benefit package. Oh, and start benefiting from our revenue share program. Yes, we pay you a quarterly commission on specific services your tenant opts into. Want to know more? Give us a call today at 877-528-3824 or visit pmcpartner.com.
Welcome everybody to another edition of the Property Manager Mastermind Show. I'm your host, Brad Larsen, and today's guest, I have the esteemed Jeremy and Gwenn Aspen. And we got lots to talk about today because there's so much going on with them. We're going to touch on a couple cool things going on. One is we want to talk more about remote team members because these two are the arguable experts on that. And we now have some of the newest exit people. They have just potentially exited most of it, not all of it, but they did make a really big decision and decided to sell their main management company. They still own a management company, but they decided to sell one of their main ones. So there's lots to talk about in those two things. Now, before we get into it, I wanted to introduce them. I want to give them a few minutes to talk about who they are, what they do. And then let's dive right into the remote team member stuff because that's really their specialty. I got lots of fun stuff to talk on that because we've been using and working with Jeremy and Gwenn for 5+ years, working with remote team members. And some of the numbers that have changed for us are just jaw-dropping. And we're going to go through that and how it all works. So without further ado, Jeremy and Gwenn, how are you doing today?
Really good.
Great.
Thanks for having us. I'll start off because my introduction is always really easy. My name is Jeremy Aspen, and I am her husband. That's how that goes.
No, Jeremy and I, so we run Anaquim, which helps property management companies with the remote professionals, as we call them, or remote team members, as they're known, or virtual assistants, depending on who you are. And we also do some back office services like bookkeeping. We have a call center for rent manager clients. But Jeremy's the CFO of our company and I'm the CEO. So we really do run it in tandem. And we have our own podcast called Bootstrappers for property managers. And yeah, so we're super excited to be here. Thanks for having us, Brad.
And some of our best episodes have been with Brad on it.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I have a face for radio. So let's, I want to tell some history here because how we all met was kind of interesting. I sat down with you guys at a NARPM broker owner conference in Las Vegas. It was a lunchtime thing, or maybe it was a morning breakfast thing. I just pulled up and said, hey, what's going on with you guys? So it's a model to the networking idea of, get out of your little comfort zone, go sit next to somebody you may not know and just strike up a conversation. Next thing I know, we're talking about remote team members and kind of how you guys had a really good line on working with remote team members in Mexico because Jeremy, interestingly enough, you got to tell the story about the white boy from Midwest Nebraska speaks fluent Spanish. So Jeremy, go into that for me.
Wait, am I the white guy in this?
You're it.
Well, I used to work I lived and worked in Mexico for about 5 years. And so, we had an operation at that time. It was a logistics 3PL, and we had an airline. And so I had employees down in Mexico that worked for me. I moved back to the United States. I did another stint as a director of another logistics company, moved to Omaha, and we started this property management company. It seemed to me that I was paying a lot more for labor than I had been down in Mexico, and the VoIP phone had just come out at that point, and I sent one down to my boss's old secretary. She quit working where she was, or actually she started working with us and started answering our phones. And then from there, friends of friends, and we kept hiring people, and it grew.
Well, and I think it's important to know that our company was just a baby company when we started using remote team members. And the growth that we saw at what was called CPM Realty and then Wistar Group, we rebranded as Wistar Group, and now it's Pure, which we'll get into later. But we were able to grow at a really fast rate because of the people that we hired in Mexico and because of what they added to our organization. Yep. And so we would not have been able to grow at that speed without them. Yeah. So, and maybe that's one of the hangups that people have. They think that they're too small for remote work. There's no such thing because when are you too small to save money on labor? And it's not even just that, like the rate per hour. It's also that you can source people with master's degrees, doctorate degrees, or not, and bring them into the fold of your company. And really, you save every hour. You're saving more money, so that especially at the beginning of the company, which is what we did, that money gets to be reinvested back into the company, and it just makes it a much easier. The prospects for growth much easier.
Well, that all circles and ties into well together because that showed how we met. But what I didn't get to yet, because I wanted to hear your intro, is the way that we worked together, and I hired 3 remote team members from you guys right away. We started working together right away. I saw the value of it. They're still with us today, which is awesome, 5+ years later. And we've grown exponentially. So now we're running, I think we have 16 remote team members, and all of them work for us, and they're all remotely done in Mexico. So there's kind of spread out. There are a lot of times they're in Aguascalientes or other places. And, I appreciate what you guys have been able to do with us and working with us for these many, many years and helping us with the remote team members. Interestingly enough, let's switch real quick just to I think it's a dynamic thing we should talk about, but there's so much competition now for what you guys are doing. And so you see all these different players come into the market. There's always been players in the market. They're representing different countries. They're representing different nationalities. And now we have more and more people that are doing kind of what you're doing, but you guys are the largest. And I need you to help people understand that, because it does show your level of experience and your commitment to what you're doing in our industry.
Well, I think one of the major benefits that we've been able to derive from our growth. So we were one of the first players. I think we were the first player in Mexico for property management. And because of our size, we're able to get really great benefits and sophisticated benefits for our team members, and still maintain a price point that is reasonable for anyone. So if people are looking for more hand-holding on the recruitment side, they want really sophisticated benefits for maintaining their employees. And also we're able to recruit the top talent because a lot of the top talent wants to have Social Security. They want to be a legal employee in Mexico. They want, healthcare, life insurance, other things that we offer. We're doing some grocery, what do you call them? Grocery vouchers. So some other things that we're able to do because of size. If people want that kind of talent that wants those benefits, we're able to find those people. And so that's been able to keep our business growing, and we're able to maintain great relationships with our clients and grow their teams effectively.
But your viewers and listeners, what they might appreciate is, we only operate in Mexico, of course, but there are instances where you might consider working with a VA company down in the Southeast Pacific, and that's obviously if you don't need to be in your area code, your zip code rather, or your time zone. And if you really just need somebody to kind of pick and peck at a keyboard, and so there are some other really decent approaches. It just depends on what you're looking for in having remote labor.
Yeah, so I think that's important to understand that a lot of people they just have no conception of what the remote team members can do. And I try to tell them in a very succinct way, they can do anything you and I can do from anywhere in the United States, anywhere in the world.
That's the best way of explaining it. They really can't do anything. I know that we have one remote, at least, that actually is now president of a division of a U.S. company. I mean, they really can do anything as long as they don't need to go to the property, right? That would be impossible to do from another country. But barring that, they really can do anything. You can get marketing, you can get service technicians that kind of understand for dispatching.
And I think one of the ways that everyone's pretty familiar with remote labor after the pandemic at this point, but now the next step of elevating is really allowing your remote team members to be part of the strategic planning sessions, doing some more strategic projects for your team. That's really where I think we're going in this next generation of virtual labor, is really embracing them as a true sophisticated leader on your team.
And something to take into consideration when you're looking to hire a remote professional wherever they are. I've always had better luck when you hire people for careers. So when you hire somebody, as long as you're not looking for somebody just data entry, get in and out of like somebody you can retrain in 15 minutes. Okay, that's a different thing. But you can hire people in another country and just make sure you go into it understanding that this is their career, and as such, they'll just need to be treated as if though it's their career. So that means pay. You want to add stability with some sort of benefits.
Develop them,
let them develop themselves, let them operate some projects. Make sure that they know that they have a career with your company, and then do what it takes to make sure they have a career with your company.
Let's talk about what it's like for them, because a lot of folks are very concerned with that. I was very concerned with that. We don't want to treat people like we're, taking advantage of them of some sort, but this is a really awesome opportunity for them, and they're very thankful to have it, because the remote teamers that we work with in Mexico, our hours are from 8 to 5 roughly, and they don't have a commute, there's a very dangerous situation in some of those places when they commute, because they're leaving at 6 in the morning to go to work at 7, and they're there till 7 p.m. because they have longer work hours. Everything's more, they're expected to work longer. Then they have a commute home. And so they have all this, opportunity for bad things that can happen in Mexico. And it's not, the unsafest place in the world, but, car accidents and everything else. So one, the safety factor. Two, the pay. We pay pretty well. You guys offer, a very good compensation, and people need to understand that it might seem lower to our American eyes because we're dealing with all a gallon of gasoline is going to cost you $3 right now. Over there, it might cost, 50 cents or something. I'm trying to equate to people to understand that what we pay them does not actually equate to bottom of the barrel wages. They equate to very, very good wages there, because the cost of living is so much different. And so, to give you a bottom line example, our turnover has been minimal. And here's another, jaw-dropping stat. I'm going to throw a couple things at you, and then I want you to jump in. A couple jaw-dropping stats for us is our turnover rate the last 5 years locally has probably been 80%. Our turnover rate internationally, meaning remote team members, has been less than 20%. They are completely flipped. 2 years ago, when the pandemic was really starting to kick over, that middle of 2020, late 2020, we had an organizational setup to where we had several property managers in the office. High level, 75, 80 grand property management professionals who were doing a lot. We had 4 or 5 of them. And as the pandemic started to hit, they all started to kind of falter away. A couple of them in particular were just very difficult to deal with, very diva-like. They were like they thought they were the Adeles of the property management world, right? And so it was getting to be maddening. And we didn't end up firing them. They just kind of went away on their own because we were such jerks. We made them come to the office during the pandemic. If they had kids sick, okay, we'd deal with it and we'd help them. But they were just like being very divas. One was making social media posts about how difficult we were making their lives by making them come to the office. It was just like sickening. Okay. And I'm going to make a point, so bear with me. So as they started to transition out on their own, we did not rehire that position. We rehired their positions in Mexico. So if it was a property manager and that high level person was making $75,000 a year. How many property managers could you hire in Mexico for $75,000 a year? So we didn't need to go that far, but let's say it's called for 1 for 2 for fun. So we lost somebody here in the US, we hired 2 remote team members in Mexico. Now I'm going to make an absolute, I'm glad you're sitting down. We compared our P&L from 2020 to 2021 a few weeks ago, and the expense savings in staffing was over $250,000.
Damn.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was the difference because of that campaign to say, okay, we're not going to rehire this position here in the States because of all the bad things that are going wrong. We're going to create a pod system of hiring folks in Mexico, answering the phones, doing lease agreements, doing renewals, doing maintenance, customer service, owner-facing customer service, you name it. They could do it from Mexico. We built a team, basically a big, giant pod. And that has worked out significantly well for us because it tied right into our number one thing, which was provide exceptional service. If we could provide exceptional service by, hey, answer your phone, and 2, return emails, and do what you say you're going to do, those things are going to pay much more dividends than having somebody on the ground in the local office where you are in the States to where they could physically see the property in person. Okay, that's a tangent benefit, but it's not the end all be all of good service. And so anyway, that was a long explanation to get to a point of where we made a huge savings.
And all of these other remote professionals, virtual assistants, what they can do is they help a property manager in the United States be able to handle a much larger portfolio. So we at one point with Wistar Group had about 900 properties per property manager. Now they had a team, right, that was helping them manage their portfolio. But that one manager here in the United States can go to more properties more often because they don't have to do the data entry. They don't need to do anything with reports. They don't need to answer the phone.
The emails can be handled by someone else. And I just want to say, like, Brad, that's a big leap. Like, you had been using remote labor for 5 years, you said, before you made this huge leap and really trusted that these people could do exceptional work at a high level. And I think people are worried that if their owners know that they're being taken care of by someone that's not in the country, that it's going to negatively impact their image. But I think the worry there is overstated, because if people are getting good service, if their property is being taken care of well, they do not care where the person is who is doing that. So people only throw in insults about the language or the where people live if the service falters. So it goes back to that great adage. Excellence is the best deterrent against any ism, sexism, racism, whatever. If they're getting great service, they don't care.
And I was explaining this to a lender I was working with on an SBA deal. And he wanted to understand our business a bit better, a bit more. And I explained to him, okay, we have, local people, we have remote team members, but you know what? We use a lot of remote team members. And here's why. And then I went into, if you call our frontline phones today, you would have spoken to someone in Mexico. He's like, whoa, really? I called somebody in last week and they answered in 2 rings, and I couldn't tell they weren't anywhere but right there in the US. They sounded great. The voices were great. The technology of the voice over IP was great. I couldn't tell a single difference. But there you go.
There are a couple of people every now and again these days where they push back a little bit because they have a political inclination to not like sourcing labor from some other country. But the way that I always handle that one is it's not that we're sourcing from some other country and that's hurting American companies. As a matter of fact, or the American economy, what we do as a company, Anaquim, we make American companies more efficient and more profitable. That is what our business model is designed to do. And it does do that every single day. And that's a great hedge against that argument, because we make American companies more efficient. No doubt about it.
We attract that pretty well too, because you guys have heard of Profit Coach with Daniel Craig.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
And I do an annual analysis with them. I love what they do. They do a great job. Our labor efficiency ratio has gone through the roof up in a very good direction, a positive direction, the last 18 months because of this, meaning that we're getting more use out of the dollars we spend to provide the service, which is mostly labor. And so it's been a phenomenal transition for us to, one, there's the trust factor in two different ways. You mentioned it earlier. Us as the business owner has to trust that this whole remote team member concept can work. And two, we have to trust that they're going to do a great job to win over the owners, win over the tenants, and win over our vendors that we work with on a daily basis. So it goes two different directions.
Boy, if there's one thing that people need to know that watch your show, and I know you've gone over it before in other episodes, but that getting that DLER dialed in is the single most important thing a company can do. And Profit Coach does a very good job.
Say what it is, the acronym is for people listening.
The total direct labor efficiency rate, or I'm sorry, the direct labor efficiency ratio.
Right.
So you want to just make sure that you at least have twice the revenue for the cost of direct labor. And that's a minimum. But you have to have that in order to have a non-commoditized kind of business.
And then, Brad, I just want to point out here, so what you're doing is really different because you've really elevated the whole remote team member game in the last year. But what that also enforces is great management strategies. So people are always like, well, how do I manage these people who aren't in the office? Well, it really just enforces the best practices, which is don't micromanage people, manage outcomes, manage KPIs, retrain where things aren't going well, and have good standard operating procedures. And if you have those things dialed in well, then having remote laborers works really seamlessly. Would you agree?
I would add spot checking on that because Melanie is our key person in our office, and she does a lot of spot checking because she has the time to do it. You understand? That's what I put her in that role now. She's the CEO of the company, and she has the time to say, I'm going to go listen to 2 phone calls this morning. I'm going to go check 10 emails here this afternoon and find out what's going on. And she'll identify something. Like, for example, this was done with a prior employee because she did an audit spot check. We found that we were missing, I think it was, 2 or 3 months worth of a leasing fee that was not getting charged. Ended up being like 8 or 10 grand that we were not charging the owners that we should have been for, 2, 3, 4 month period there. And she caught that and went back and fixed it. But, it's a little egg on her face because that should have been part of the process. When you lease out a home, you charge the leasing fee, the owners pay it, et cetera. Well, there was a step that was broken.
Right.
Had she not had the time to investigate that, she would not have caught that.
She was working on the company, not in the company.
But that's
what worked.
And that is best practices, though. I mean, we have a quality control branch of our business that's always looking at those things, always reviewing processes. And processes, it's just like a closet. Like you organize your closet, it looks beautiful, and then a year later it's super messy and you have to go in and reorganize. So I think there's always that element of quality control that every well-run business needs to have, where you're always checking on procedures and making sure people are doing them the way that they're written down, and that there aren't any loose ends or people going renegade over here doing their own thing. And so that's just part of running a good business. But to your point, when you have some people doing the operations who are lower cost, you can have your managers really focusing on that quality part and making sure your business is run effectively, which we all should be doing anyway, regardless of where your labor is.
The biggest thing I want to bring up right now is the cultural differences are becoming more and more widened. We're starting to see with the last 18 months, 2 years, with this whole COVID thing, we have unemployment going through the roof where people are incentivized not to work. A lot of them have chosen that path to not work. Mm-hmm. And so it's causing employers, property managers, to have a very difficult time to find really good people that want to work, good labor. Very heartbreaking story just the other day off the Property Manager Mastermind Facebook group is a young lady went on there and was telling her story about how several of her key employees had just up and left for no real reason. They were being paid bonuses. They were given plenty of time off. They were made part of the company culture. Everything she talked about in her post made sense. Like she's doing the right things to keep locally based American workers happy and content and motivated to do what they're supposed to be doing. They just up and left. So now all of a sudden, her and her husband are thrown back into doing everything themselves. Yeah. And so a lot of folks were mentioning, hey, it might be time to consider remote team members because, as I mentioned, the turnover is 180-degree difference, especially in our experience.
Yeah, and I think your low turnover is a testament to your company and that probably your employees see that there's a future. Because we also have some clients that go through remote professionals pretty quickly.
A small number, but
yeah. Well, and what we I think can identify with those clients is that they're really not ready for it yet. Like they have the right idea, but they don't have KPIs. They don't have a way of managing anybody. They haven't been very good at transitioning during this the pandemic. And so really an indicator of whether or not this is going to work for you is if you can know whether or not you're prepared for remote work if you have a pretty well-run company or if you're at least of the mindset that you're going to have a well-run company. That's the big one. And instead of it just always being like reactionary, if you want to make it so it's not reactionary, that's kind of a secret ingredient to being able to ensure that your turnover is low. And
I'm sure if she gets remote team members, and she has all her ducks in order, like it sounds like she has, she's going to be very successful. I feel badly for her losing all your team at one moment. Every business owner that knows that would be extremely stressful.
Yeah, a couple of key points to remember just for anybody who's wanting to get into this, and let's transition to talk about something different. But a couple of key things is understand what you're paying your provider and what the provider's paying your employees. So you guys have that in mind and you can understand where to go with it in the future. The other part of that is, I hope I didn't lose my train of thought, but if you're going to hire one, hire two at the same time. And I think we did this very well, Gwen, when we worked with you guys, is you don't just hire one and dabble. We hired two because the cost to hire two was still significantly cheaper than hiring one local team member versus two remote team members. And so I think that's a good piece of advice, is especially for that young lady who was discussing her situation. I would say run to you guys and find a good solution and hire two folks right away and figure out exactly what to do with them. Because you're thinking, well, what am I going to do with two folks? I barely have enough room for one to be fully occupied. No, you'll find more. There's going to be and they're going to want more.
And if your goal is to keep your clients happy, just think of all those things that you've always wanted to do to make your clients happy. And now you have the labor to do it. So go for it.
Hey everybody, this is Brad Larsen. I want to talk to you about a new podcast out there that I would highly recommend called 300 to 3000, How to Grow Your Property Management Company to Scale. One of the hosts is Matthew Whitaker. He's a good friend of mine. I visited their operation, and I really, truly respect what GK Houses has done, and they are still doing. They are experts at growing at a fast scale into a large-scale business. So expect to hear the real-world truth about all the mistakes the company has made growing into it and all the good things they're doing. Again, go to 300to3000.com. That's their website. And catch them on iTunes, Spotify, and or Stitcher. Look forward to hearing from good things from those guys. Take care. Love it. So let's transition real quick. I want to talk about your recent sale. And so you guys own a management company in Omaha. I've been there, visited with it. We've had dinner together up there. You had a great organization. You had a couple things go really bad, for the last couple of years. We don't want to get into all that, but at the end of the day, you decided, okay, it's time to make an exit, and you wanted to focus more on what you're doing with Anaquip. So tell me kind of how it went with the exit and tying into Pure and getting the management company going. Just talk me through that. I'm very, very intrigued.
Well, so where we are right now is we're picking out private jets.
No, my God.
Which ones we want to get, because it's just, you get super rich.
No.
But actually, yeah, so we had, we still have a property management company in Lincoln, but the one here in Omaha, I had partners in that company. And so it wasn't exactly fair that I had been dedicating, 97% of my time at Anaquim growing this company and still reaping the rewards of that profitable company. So something had to change in terms of the distribution of the profits, because I just was making more than I really deserved. And I think it was probably chipping away at my partners, I don't know, their ambition a little bit, right? Because they weren't majority stakeholders. I owned the majority of the company. So something had to change. Gwen went off to a conference, and she had found...
It was your conference, Brad.
Oh, your conference. Okay.
All right.
It was Brad's conference.
All right. And then she came back and said, should we at least consider selling it to an outside company? as opposed to just doing an internal sale? Well, of course, the answer is yes. Let's not be dumb and let's look at other offers. And I think we got 5 offers or so. 5.
We had, I was kind of like hype girl. I don't know if that's like the right term, but I kind of hyped it up. I knew who the players were in the market looking. We kind of hyped up our business for maybe 9 companies and then whittled it down to 5 that were a values match for our organization. I mean, our goal, Jeremy and I had very strong values about how we wanted to sell it and what we wanted it to look like. Number one, our business partners are like family members to us. We've raised our kids together. We've been through the ups and downs. You mentioned that we had a rough go. We had an explosion at a property a few years back that was absolutely horrifying, traumatic for everybody involved. And we really are a close team. And so our relationship and making sure we did right by our team was our number one focus. Of course, everybody wants to make money, so we wanted to do well, but we also wanted the company that we were going to be acquired by to, put clients first. And we spent 16 years of our life growing that organization, taking care of clients in a specific way. And we wanted that to remain. So anyway, as we went down, there were like 5 companies that met that criteria. And then it whittled down to Pure, which was actually our favorite organization. We like their values. We like their vision. We thought that they were a good match for our team. And we liked how they kind of blended both the tech aspect of property management with the down home people quality. And they never lost sight that people are what make or break property management companies. So overarchingly, they were the clear winner and then came in with a good bid. So it worked on in both ways. I kind of exited the hype girl part of the sales process and let the team members who were really going to be in the weeds with Pure, they had to have buy-in on the sale end. Otherwise, a lot of the times sales can fall apart if you don't get your team, these were part owners, involved at the front end. So they worked on the details of the legal aspects and the finalities, the fine points of the pricing at the end. And then the deal closed with all of our owners still loving each other, everyone excited about Pure, and a better deal for our team moving forward with visionaries who really were 100% in instead of Jeremy and I, who were, totally distracted by Anaquim and what Anaquim was doing. So it was such a win-win.
Backing up a bit, I want to talk more about, okay, you decided to sell and package the whole company to get ready to sell. Did you start to work with a broker? Because how did you start to get that many good offers in? I mean, you said 9, which is significant to choose from. I'm sure local players, national players. Kind of talk me through that initial marketing phase.
That was just me going out there, and okay. I knew who was kind of buying, and then I knew some local players also. And so we just and the initial discussion wasn't about money. It really wasn't. It was about
don't tell Pure, but I actually had said that I was willing to give away my 53% of the company.
I mean, he said that in jest, but
if it would have protected the interest of, of our staff.
But as we were talking to people, we didn't want to leave our team members high and dry. So some players that we were talking with, it just wasn't a match from the beginning. And it whittled down to 5. But yeah, so I just hyped it up. I mean, I did my own research and we didn't use a broker at all.
Although I would say if we could do it again, a broker would have been maybe a little bit easier because we ended up
putting a lot of time into it.
I know at least 1 or 2 of the companies, we weren't quite prepared yet. And we didn't send them the entire, all the books. And so that was unfortunate, but it happened. So maybe something like that, maybe centralized. I probably would have considered doing it with a broker.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good and bad thing. We run the property manager broker as well. So we have a little bit of a brokerage that will work with just property management companies. And so I'm very intrigued about this because everyone says they would have or should have or could have worked with a broker, but they don't think about that up front. A lot of times too, you can also start talking about doing these blind bids. You have all these, you get a bid system going. I'm not second guessing what you did. I'm just very curious on how it worked out, because Gwenn would have done what most of us would have done. We would have kind of put out some feelers to the big players that we know, the local players that would be big enough to dominate and take over the company locally. And so I think that was interesting. The transaction, the handling of the transaction, how did that go for you guys? Did you each have your own acquisition attorneys working for you? How did it go there?
Yeah. So we had our own attorney that was operating, working with their lawyer, and that was mostly hands off just because we gave the lawyers basic instructions and said, let's just go with this. They'd come back on a regular basis and let us know of any updates or changes that might have fallen out of the parameters that we'd originally established. Our lawyer bill was pretty high because of the nature of these transactions. They can get pretty complicated. And I'll tell you, Pure has kind of a template-y sort of, I mean, they've got this down. So I think it went a lot easier than it otherwise would have.
But we did fall outside of the normal range because of our maintenance department is a huge part of Wistar. I mean, we had a lot of assets. We have a huge maintenance department. It's built out very in a sophisticated way. And so that fell outside of the realm. And so maybe our lawyer bills were a little bit larger than some other property management outfits that don't have an aggressive, if you will, maintenance portfolio.
Makes sense.
So basically you're saying that if we would have used you, we could have been picking out a bigger jet.
I don't know about that. I mean, there's always a what ifs, but that is our specialty, working in that realm. But I'm not trying to get to that point. I'm just trying to talk through the conversation, the whole transaction, because I do think it's fascinating. I do think that a lot of people want to learn from it, because that's the hot topics of the day are always going to be, one, remote team members, and two, acquisitions. It seems to be everybody wants to talk about buying or selling, and nobody thinks about it happening until it happens to you. Meaning that, well, I'm not really looking at buying anybody right now. I'm just cool with what I'm doing. And all of a sudden you're at a buffet line, or you're at a NARPM convention, and someone pokes you in the shoulder and say, hey, you know what? I'm thinking of selling next year. Are you interested? Because I know we're in the same market. And you're like, whoa, okay. And I guess it's time to get serious.
It is just another reminder that people really should think about their exit maybe 7 years before they're wanting to exit. We should always be building our businesses to sell. Because if you build it to sell, I mean, you never know if you're going to get sick. Something bad can happen. You're in a position where you need to sell your business quickly. Some giant life transition or whatever. And so I think 7 years, and that's best practice as I've read, you should have your business ready, and it shouldn't be super dependent on you as the owner. I mean, you have to build it where your team is doing the majority of the work, because it's more valuable if that's the case. And so it's not selfish for you to, exit the business slowly but surely, because you're giving people the ability to grow their careers, and you're setting your business up for success at your exit date.
Now, do you still have any involvement in the business with Pure at a higher level?
Nope.
No,
I don't.
Our team members do. Our minority owners definitely are working with Pure, specifically because we have a sophisticated maintenance department that maybe could be replicated in other areas. And so, yes, they love working with that leadership team, and Pure is one of those teams that really looks to the companies that it acquires for its expertise, and that's going really well.
Yeah, and they're largely operating the way that they were before. I mean, because let's face it, that is what they bought, and they don't want to disrupt that. I know that they have long-term plans to make some changes, technology-wise or whatever. But right now, things just keep humming the way they did before, except that, like Gwenn had brought up, the visionary piece. Like now they're part of a larger group. They want to become, there's more of an opportunity maybe for more people. We've got one guy that's kind of been offered a job in Colorado because he wants to go there, and there's an opportunity. So, that's a nice thing. It's hard. You have to backfill the position, but you also make these opportunities for your employees to go live the life that they want to lead.
Let's talk about the timing and the how you approached your team with this decision.
So time-wise, ours took a little bit longer because of the size and because of the complexity that the maintenance piece brought on. But, from start to finish, I would say it probably took, Well,
our process began pretty much right after your conference. So was that May? So Correct. May, and then we finally closed with Pure. When was it? At the end of
November 1st.
November 1st.
Yeah. And that was the longest one that it had ever taken them. So they're a lot faster than that, generally speaking. I think we threw up some hurdles and we slowed things down a little bit, but it's a larger company, and it was a big transaction. So they were really gracious, and everything worked out real nicely, actually.
So let me take
another part to your question. What was it?
Oh, no, the timing of it. It's like how did you do that? Did you like bring everybody into a conference room and say, hey, guess what? We're out. How did you do all that?
Yeah. So there was actually, because we've been mostly hands off for the recent past, my team, Doug and Emerson, they called a company meeting, and the whole company showed up, and I only was able to Zoom in because I was notified very late. And they notified everybody right there. They gave them some swag, answered some questions, and let them know about the new benefits package that they were going to be enjoying. And I think everybody's still there at the company. Yeah,
I don't think anybody left due to any changes. And because we were really out of the game for the most part, which is why we really needed to move, because we were maybe stale vision. And now they're getting like excited vision, like owners who are really invested in it. And so I think everybody's more excited than when we were in charge, which is exactly the point.
So I want to steal a page from John Warlow. So he does the podcast Built to Sell, and he was a speaker at our very first Property Management Mastermind Conference. And he's the guy that writes all these different books about how to build and sell a company and stuff like that. A lot of his interviews, he talks to the folks about, okay, what did you buy or what did you do after completing the sale? Did you go buy that jet you always wanted, Jeremy, or what did you end up doing? So talk us through some of that. Oh my
gosh. Can I just tell you about how anticlimactic it was?
Yeah.
So this is just a testament to maybe how much Jeremy and I are not fun because it was like a Thursday night and he was on his phone and he's like, okay, I'm signing the final paperwork. And he signed it. And I was like, this is so exciting. And he was like, I need to go work out. And then he went and worked out. And that was like, it was literally, I think we both worked out.
Yeah, it was pretty anticlimactic. Only in that we always knew it was coming. And as far as the cash, you don't live off of it. We're just not the type of people. We have a small house, big life kind of attitude. I didn't get a new car. I'm in a different, I didn't do anything with the money. Right now it's sitting in a bank account and I'm letting it trickle into the stock market.
Yeah. We're doing the,
and we took
dollar cost averaging.
Yeah. And then we took some of this money and we're investing it into the software for Anaquim.
Okay, good stuff.
So nothing fun.
So yeah, I know. I'm
not
sorry.
at all. That's absolutely disgustingly boring. But hey, that's cool. A lot of people would say, I bought a Lamborghini or something, neat like that, or I took a trip around the world, or something.
We still have some long-term goals. At some point, I want to buy a newer, faster airplane for myself because I'm a pilot, general aviation. But that's nothing like a jet.
So I just think that, the moral of the story, to make it not sound so bad, is just that we actually like our regular life.
Yeah.
Like we like the life that we've built with or without the sale of the company, and we're happy living it. So instead of sounding super boring, I think it's a story that we're actually happy with the day-to-day.
No, it makes a lot of sense because a lot of times the entrepreneurs that John Warlow talks with, they could be software folks. They could be just grinding 80, 90 hours a week for, 5, 10 years. And then all of a sudden, boom, here's 9 figures thrown in your lap. Right. And then it's like you're so 180 in your lifestyle. And so a lot of people will, take a trip around the world for a year or buy these great big items. But it's a testament to our industry to where you had the company basically running itself. You looked at a little bit from strategic level stuff, but you weren't in there blocking and tackling every day. And so for you to make an exit, it was not like a giant thing. It was just like, okay, it's another chapter that's ended and a new chapter is opening up. Let's go to dinner and work out, that type of thing. It wasn't a giant deal for you guys. But it was a good big deal, but it wasn't such a life-changing event that threw you for a loop. So kudos for you guys for building that great company, and congratulations on your exit.
Thanks. And I just want to say one thing. We're just still purpose-driven with Anaquim. That's where our passion lies. And we love creating amazing careers and developing a middle class and emerging market. And that's what gets us up every day. And also helping small businesses in the United States maintain profitability I mean, that's enough of a purpose for us that's what drives us day to day. And no amount of money really changes the excitement that we share for that.
As a matter of fact, we've kind of been beating ourselves up for not traveling at all, because you brought that up about traveling the world. And so this year we're going to at least go to Europe because we have some really good friends there that we need to go visit. So I'm actually really looking forward to it, because as business owners, as you and your listeners know, we don't really take the time to do that stuff. We don't. That's just the nature of the beast. You're too friggin' busy. And I think we got caught up in that routine, and now we're finally going to break from it and go visit some friends.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it does, especially when you have young kids, because your kiddos are, I think, 14 and 12, something like that.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so they're right close to my kids' age. And it's every time you think, oh, I want to go do this, I want to go do that. Like, wait a minute. We got other things going on with the kiddos. They got this going on, that going on. And that kind of puts the anchor on you a little bit. But imagine when you finally get them out of the house, kick them off to college, then you guys can go live the big dream. Take that plane and come see me in San Antonio.
That. Mm-hmm. Which I may be doing sooner than later.
Absolutely. Well, guys, appreciate you coming on today. It's been a fantastic episode. I really enjoyed our conversation, especially about remote team members and, of course, your successful exit and your acquisition with Pure. Congratulations again. Look forward to seeing you guys at the Property Manager Mastermind Conference in 2022 in May. Coming up. They're only about 4 or 5 months away. Gwenn, you're going to be one of my facilitators. Remember, Gwenn is going to be.
No, how could I forget? I love your conference.
I love your small group atmosphere that you bring, because you have a knowledge of what we're talking about with remote team members, and of course the knowledge of the extreme procedures that you built in your management company, and you've come full circle now. So I think you're really bringing something to the table for the small group. Appreciate you guys coming on. Looking forward to see you at the Mastermind Conference. And until next time, you guys stay in touch.
Thanks, Brad.
Later.
Hey, everybody, want to make sure you know about the Property Manager Mastermind Conference here in 2022 going on at the Red Rock Resort in Las Vegas, May 16th through 18th. Go to pmmcon.com to learn more and sign up.
FindDigs makes your leasing process lightning fast and 100% fraud-proof straight from the applicant's phone. FindDigs not only instantly verifies income by connecting directly to bank accounts without any documents uploaded, but also uses 3D selfies and facial match technology to perform complete fraud-proof bank-grade identity verification, allowing property managers to process applications in under an hour. For more information, check out their website at www.finddigs.com or reach out to Henson at henson@finddigs.com.
This has been a podcast episode by PropertyManagementProductions.com. Be sure to subscribe to our podcast, leave us feedback, and come back for our next episode.